was useless. But at that point, it didn't really matter because we had not been in a battle. Well, that all changed. When we heard the sound, and it's a really distinctive sound, clank, 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 and this like dull roar, and it covered, you know, we're up high enough, you know, it's a desert, so you can actually see pretty far. We couldn't see anything. We saw clouds of dust. We heard a lot of rumbling. And you could probably guess what the rumbling was. Can you guess what the rumbling was? The clanking? Tanks. And were they the same ancient, you know, M3 Stewarts that we had? No. Panzer III, Panzer IV, Tiger tanks. A Tiger tank would still be a bigger tank than a lot of armies have today. These things were monstrous. And we start hearing these, they call it a crump, you know, an artillery shell. And then all of a sudden this green ball would go, like 500 feet per second. And then you'd see an entire part of the hillside just go poof! And you'd see a crater. And all of a sudden, like, this explodes around us. And we're seeing these craters. And we're hearing machine guns. We still can't see them. Because the range of our rifles is a few hundred yards. The range of an 88 millimeter German artillery piece, mile and a half, easy. Even the 75 millimeter main armaments on the Panzers could do a mile and a half. We had no idea it was total chaos. We had no idea what was happening. We're all like looking at each other. Somebody said there was one good gun. It's called a Browning automatic rifle. They called it a bar. In fact, one time in the ship, the captain says, "Anyone here ever worked a bar before?" I'm not making this up. Louis, he's from New York. He says, "Oh yeah, I used to have a bar back in Brooklyn." No, that's not what we're talking about. It's a Browning automatic rifle. It was a good weapon, and they gave it to me, and I'd never fired one before in my life. But you know, I hunted. Everybody used guns back then. You gotta kill your dinner. So I went up, and I was like at the top of the hill. I could hear the crump, and I could see the smoke and the dust, and fire, and these green fireballs. It was freaky to see these things. It was like something out of a science fiction movie. You just can't explain it. I was up there, and there was like a rock, and I was leaning against a rock, and all of a sudden, I found it's like burning the back of my neck, and I stood away from the rock, and this bullet, flattened bullet, fell down. It went 3 inches from my spine, and I had the wound basically till the day I died. It wasn't bad, but it looked bad. It was bleeding, and all my students said, "Go to the first aid station." So I went to the first aid station. I'm like sitting at the first aid station. Nobody knows what's going on there, and in the end, we had to hotwire ambulances to get out of there. It was chaos. It was total and utter mayhem. You know, it's hard to describe what that's like. Like maybe if you guys saw any of the riots on TV, that's the kind of place these days where you'll see, you know, just total chaos. Nobody knows what to do. People going that way, people going this way. You know, this guy's hurt, this guy's singing, you know, just total chaos. That's what it was like. But what I did know was that my friends were going down right and left. An 88 round would hit, crack of a Mauser rifle, burst of a machine gun. Couldn't do anything. It was rock. It was rock. You see these rocks? That whole hill was rocks and some gravel and some sand. It's not like you could dig a foxhole. They said, dig a slit. We can't dig a slit. First of all, we don't have a shovel. Second of all, it's rock. We were just. It was like a shooting gallery. You know, the carnival, right? Guys go to state. They still have state fairs these days. They had them in Iowa. You'd go up and there'd be a little shooting gallery, and the duck would come across. It's just what it was like. But the whole time, see that over there? See that flag? The whole time that flag was flying. And it didn't matter, you know, you were crawling on the ground or you were trying to get behind the littlest rock you could, you know, tiny rock, anything to get cover. But you could look up, at the top of the hill was that flag. And it, like, that's why a unit has colors, right? They call them colors. The flag has their own, the unit has their own flag. Like if the flag's flying, you still have hope. Well, one time the flag didn't fly. The flag went down. It was a piece of shrapnel, you know, a little bit of metal came off an artillery round 100 yards away, and it broke the flagpole. So we could see the flag, but it was on the ground. And we're like, and you know, your heart just, oh no, not the flag. And we were just staring at each other, and all of a sudden Russ Finney gets up. Russ Finney was kind of a skinny guy. Well, we were all pretty skinny. It was just after the Depression, but he was really skinny. He was tall, which made him look even skinnier. He played clarinet beside me in the band, sat beside me in the band. He just started walking out there. We're like, are you out of your mind? People are getting killed out there. Look at the bodies. You know, they're piling up. He was like, I'm going. We couldn't believe it. We were just so shocked that it's not like any of us even went up to help him. And then all of a sudden, those green fireballs went shoo! And went boom! And there was a cloud of smoke, and there was dust, and there was a crater. You know what there wasn't? There wasn't Russ Finney. That's what there wasn't. He was vaporized. Like, take a drop of water and you put it on that stone right now. And we just, you know, you just can't believe this is happening. This is like a nightmare. But you smell the cordite, you know, the gunpowder. Hell, we could smell the blood. It's in the first aid station. There was no body to find. There was no body to bury. Hayden and Becca and Rafaela and my son and his wife, they went to the cemetery. It's still there in Tunisia, in Carthage. It's a beautiful place. It's kind of like Arlington, a little bit smaller, absolutely exquisite. And found a star on the wall. Russ Finney. I sent a picture up to his family. I'm in touch with their family. I found him on Facebook. Why was he a star on the wall and not a gravestone? Because there was no body. So it's an easy answer for me, right? Why do you make this big deal about the flag? Because my friend Russ Finney, who used to sit beside me in high school and play the clarinet, went out there because he couldn't see that flag on the ground. That's why. And he was one of hundreds, thousands. You know how many battles this country has been through? There are hundreds of battles. I'm going to read a few names of some of the guys that died in those battles. Sometimes it was the drummer boy that was next to the flag. Do you know how old the drummer boys were? They were like 8. Some of you guys probably have little brothers, right? 8 years old. And they got killed just along with everybody else. And so the guy playing the flute, or the piccolo, the fife, they called it, right? Not too far from here. Concord, right up there. First name I'm going to read is the Battle of Concord. 8-year-old boys. You just can't count how many over time sacrificed everything for that flag. Why? So that we could come here, we could talk around a fire, we could sit on a log, and not have to worry about the Gestapo being behind that building. Because every totalitarian government has a secret police. And they watch you 24 hours a day. Go to North Korea today. Go to Morocco. We have missionary friends. They're now in France because they're going to knock on the door at midnight and they said, you have 6 hours. They were our friends telling us we have 6 hours because they knew what was coming. And we knew the secret police followed us. You know, you could hear them on the phone. Click, 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 like, really? Very subtle, 24 hours a day. We don't have that, right? We can come out here, we will never have the secret police. Praise the Lord. And the problem is, as we heard earlier, it's like everyone just takes it for granted. Well, of course. It's not of course. If you ever went to a communist country, if you ever knew anyone who grew up in a communist country, I remember when after the war, I was in New York. I had friends, and I was saying, I don't know, I was saying something about they said something about the police. I'm like, so what? What's the big deal? They're like, you've never lived in a communist country, have you? No. Well, there's a reason they get nervous when the police are there. Because that night they could be in prison and never heard from again. And no one's going to ask after you, because what happens to the person who asks after you? They go to the same place. Nobody's going to ask after you. They'll cry. They'll mourn. They'll grieve. They're not going to go knock on the secret police station door and ask. You are gone forever. Germany, 1940. Soviet Union, anytime during most of the 20th century. North Korea today. They're all the same. Exactly the same. We have it really good. Not because of a piece of cotton or nylon with a design, but because what men and women have done to see that still fly and to allow us to have a country that still flies the flag. Because Adolf Hitler wanted to squish us into the dirt like he did all those countries in Europe. And for a while, it looked like those countries were gone forever. You know, God bless Winston Churchill. You know what he said? We were talking about this the other day. He was the prime minister, right, of Britain, and the guys before him, they'd all been appeased. It was like, let's not bother Mr. Hitler, right? They don't want to go to the same prison. It's the same thing, right? But he said, if Britons are going to be killed and subjugated under the heel of the Nazi boot, let every one of us die with blood gurgling in our throats. He was a warrior. He was a warrior from the time he was your age, the time I was my age in the battle. And he knew FDR. FDR knew George Marshall. George Marshall got us into the war. We were in the war. I was in a first aid station, and I saw my friend turn into vapor. But we lost that battle. We lost battles for the next 5 days because they were the two finest armored divisions in the Africa Corps, the whole German army in North Africa. 5,000 of them with Panzer and Tiger tanks. And we were 300 guys with bolt-action rifles. They steamed all the way up the Kasserine Pass, like from here to downtown Boston. Steamrolled up everything in their path. What we had in the way of armor was a joke. They came out 15 minutes later, every tank was burning in the field. But we learned. And we eventually got good rifles. And we eventually designed and manufactured in large volume good tanks. We won the war. Along with Britain, and Canada, and France, and Poland, and several other countries that we usually don't think about. Men died in those countries too, by the thousands, but we won the war. Why? So you guys could sit on that log, and so I could stand here and not have the secret police behind that building. Praise the Lord. So tonight we're going to honor the flag. We're going to retire the flags. You might need a bit more wood on the fire. But the first few flags, I'm going to read the name of the first American soldier who died in that war. And while it might be a temptation to think about, it's a name, might be in a history book, it's on the internet, that's how I found them, they're on the internet. But instead of that, look next to you. Look to the guy on your left, look to the guy on your right. Think of that guy. Think of you and him in a battle where you come back and he was vaporized in a crater when you hear these names. So, first of all, I'm going to put my hat back on. Not allowed to call it a hat, you have to call it military cover. Sounds better. And soldiers are always seeking cover. We certainly were that day. And flags are going to be brought down. Aiden, my aide de camp, is going to help me feed him into the fire. But first, I'm going to call us to attention. I'm going to sing taps. And you always salute during taps. When I'm done singing taps, we're going to come down from attention. And one by one, we're going to retire these flags. And, you know, you guys are super respectful, so I'm not going to insult you by telling you please to be quiet. I know where your hearts are, and you haven't said a peep, so thank you for that. I appreciate that. All right, so let's stand. Everybody know how to come to attention. Your legs together, your hands at your side, your chest up, your neck back.
Detail, attend, hunt!
Day is done, gone the sun, from the lake, from the hill, from the sky. All is well, safely rest. God is nigh. April 18th, 1775. Did you guys know that Minutemen came from Medfield to go to this battle, the Battle of Concord? Did you know that? That's what I'm saying. The guy next door, the guy that lives next to you on Pine Street or whatever, those are the guys in the battle. They picked up their flintlocks, their Kentucky Dong rifles, their brown vest muskets, whatever they had, and they went up to fight. We didn't even have a flag like that yet. But they knew that the way to get a flag and to have a country was to stand up for what you believe in. Isaac Davis in the Battle of Concord. February 15th, that was the day after our battle, right? Ours was February 14th. 1898, in Havana Harbor on the USS Maine, John Matza. If you ever know a flag to be retired, go through your dad or your patrol leader or any of the guys up here, because whether anybody's out here with me or not, I'm going to retire the flags, because this flag goes in a dumpster over my dead body. This was in 1846, the Battle of Lobos. Young man named Scarborough Drake. This is a flag that someone left a bit too long to retire, huh? But I'm glad they put it in the box. There's a box at Will's. There's no American Legion, of course, but you can put it in the box at Will's. You can drop it off at 87 North Street. Somehow get it to us so they can be retired properly. They've done their service. This guy has done more than his service, huh? This is November 12th, 1917. So this is World War I, right? That actual uniform could have been worn at this battle. This is the Battle of Ethelmont. And this was a teenager named James Gresham. Now, after the last name, I'm going to sing God Bless America. And if any of you want to join in, you can. The last cohort, we had a couple of gentlemen who sang with me. And one of them was one of the charter members of Troop 89 in the 1950s. How about that? February 14th, 1943. Battle of Jebel Qasira. Mr. Russ Finney.